Enjoy these moments because this is the most fun you're going to have in basketball. I worked hard to get to this point. Every game, come in with confidence.
My game is running strong. Aim to prove I'm wrong. I've been in the trenches and won't be that way for long. It go like, oh my, hello nasty.
So after declining the player option of his original contract, Kawhi Leonard has decided to stay with the Clippers. Terms of the deal are being finalized. Leonard is still recovering from a July 13th surgery to fix a partially torn ACL and is expected to miss significant time. Here's Bobby Marks on more on Leonard's contract options with Lob City.
There are two different options that Leonard can choose. He can sign a 2-year, $82 million contract with a player option. That would allow him to become a free agent next offseason and sign a 5-year, $242 million contract with the Clippers. Or he can sign a 4-year, $175 million contract long-term to remain with the Clippers. One thing's for certain, Leonard is back with the Clippers. The big question, what type of contract will it be?
There's no doubting Kawhi is worth the money when he's on the court. He's coming off a playoff run where he averaged over 30 points a game. Kawhi is only the 6th player in the shot clock era to average over 30 a game on 55% shooting in a single postseason. The Clippers were at their best with Kawhi in control of the offense. They averaged over 1.3 points per possession, with Leonard bringing the ball up the court, and the best mark for any player last year. However, they likely won't have that option for most of next year with Kawhi recovering from ACL surgery. The Clippers are just 23-20 without Leonard during his LA tenure, including the playoffs. Weren't done there, though. The team re-signed Reggie Jackson to a 2-year, $22 million deal. Jackson is coming off a career-rejuvenating season, particularly in the postseason. Meanwhile, Justice Winslow has also agreed to a 2-year deal with the Clippers. The 25-year-old caught the injury bug the last 2 seasons, playing only 37 games in that span.
Kevin Durant also securing the bag and his future. KD plans to sign a 4-year, $198 million max contract extension with Brooklyn sometime on Saturday when he becomes eligible. That's according to Adrian Wojnarowski. Durant averaged 26.9 points, 7.1 rebounds, and 5.6 assists this past season, making his 11th All-Star appearance. Here's Bobby Marks on what this means for Kyrie and Harden moving forward.
Now the next question is, will James Harden follow? Harden is eligible for a 3-year, $161 million extension, along with Kyrie Irving. In total, if all 3 players sign an extension this offseason, it will be for a whopping $540 million. That's the price to pay when you're trying to win a championship in Brooklyn, and the Nets now have Durant locked up for the foreseeable future.
So KD missed 37 games last season with the Nets, but showed no drop-off when he did play, including the playoffs. Durant averaging nearly 29 points per game. That surpassed Michael Jordan for the highest scoring average by a player who did not play the prior.
Let's talk about free agency. It kicked off this week. The majority of big-name free agents have been locked into deals, but one guy that still has not made his decision, Kawhi Leonard. Leonard reportedly declined his $36 million player option for the 2021 season, and Robert Horry sounded off on this decision.
As a Clipper fan, I would be mad at Kawhi because there are a lot of free agents could be sitting back, well, we're going to see what Kawhi is going to do because we might join your franchise. And with him sitting back waiting and trying to see what other guys are getting, see what he wants to do, is not fair to the organization because the organization went out of its way to give you everything you wanted this past couple of seasons, but now you're putting them in a bad situation.
Stephen A., you think Kawhi should be held more accountable?
Well, absolutely. Max will attest to the fact that I've been on this bandwagon for quite some time. I've beaten Kendrick Perkins and Robert Horry to this. Not that they're wrong, but I was just saying that I've been on this tip for quite some time. Just to put it out there, I would have strong reservations about giving Kawhi Leonard a long-term deal. I've said that on many occasions. Now, let me say why. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not blind. This dude is a top 5 player in the game when healthy. He is big time. Top 5 because of what he does on both ends of the floor. Not to mention the fact that he's fresh off of 11 games in the postseason. where he was averaging 30 on 57% shooting. The brother is the real deal. The problem is you can't trust him. Kawhi Leonard, you can't trust him to be available because he's had durability issues. He certainly ain't going to help you marketing and promotion-wise. That ain't what he does. Kawhi Leonard shows up to work, seems to want to work when he wants to work, with whom he wants to work with, how he wants to work, and he goes on about his business. You ain't got to worry about his private business being publicized. He don't talk to anybody. He truly is a cyborg. That's what he is. I get all of that. And I'm not trying to sit up there and cast aspersions on his character. I don't know him. What I'm saying is from the outside looking in, he's a guy that obviously engages in load management. He required the team. He basically threatened them. I'll go to the Lakers unless you do what I want you to do and mortgaging your future to get Paul George. Then after that, he doesn't show up against Dallas in a pivotal Game 7. They lose that series in the bubble. They come back this year. He's hurt. He's sitting upstairs instead of down on the bench with the team and all of that stuff. And need I remind you, Max, that when he was in San Antonio, there was discomfort and some semblance of confrontation because Tony Parker and all of those guys were saying, well, damn, we've had similar injuries. It ain't take this long for us to come back. And that was what ultimately precipitated him saying he wanted to be traded by the San Antonio Spurs. There's some history here of Kawhi being about Kawhi. And we all know that his talents require that. Nobody should question his money in terms of what you give him, in terms of what he deserves when playing on the court. But he doesn't promote and market for you. He's got an injury that they're saying may keep him out of next season, Max. And he hasn't proven to be durable. If I'm the Los Angeles Clippers, with all of those things jumbled up together, the last thing I look at Kawhi Leonard, he's not a culture builder. He's a mercenary. And I pay him to perform. And if he can't perform, he does nothing for me because he doesn't do anything to promote the sport and he doesn't do anything to promote my team.
I would give him a long-term deal. With the Spurs, look, here's the fact about Kawhi. What you said, I get it. I get what you're saying. I'm not disputing it. But what I would add to it is some dudes' bodies just aren't built the same way. He is injury prone. His muscles and bones aren't held together with the ligaments the same way, say, LeBron's are, right? I don't think it's because he's not putting in work. I think it's because just the way he is genetically. So he had an issue in San Antonio. Remember the mysterious quad injury? He didn't feel the medical staff reportedly was taking it seriously enough, right? He eventually gets out of San Antonio. He turned out to be right. He was a finals MVP in San Antonio. Finals MVP in Toronto. That mercenary, they picked him up for 1 year. He wanted to go home. He didn't want to live in Canada. He wanted to be in LA where he's from. Goes to the Clippers. You're right against Dallas. There's no arguing that. That's bad. Everyone has a bad series. It's a bad time to have a bad Game 7. He's had so many great ones. And then last year, he missed the series because once again he was hurt. And reportedly now, he is also rumored not to be so happy with the fact that maybe the medical staff didn't take his injury seriously enough. He has a torn ACL. So this is Kawhi. He's a killer. He's the best player on a chip. Antonio. Finals MVP in Toronto. That mercenary, they picked him up for 1 year. He wanted to go home. He didn't want to live in Canada. He wanted to be in LA where he's from. Goes to the Clippers. You're right against Dallas. There's no arguing that. That's bad. Everyone has a bad series. It's a bad time to have a bad Game 7. He's had so many great ones. And then last year, he missed the series because once again he was hurt. And reportedly now, he is also rumored not to be so happy with the fact that maybe the medical staff didn't take his injury seriously enough. He has a torn ACL. So this is Kawhi. He's a killer. He's the best player on a championship team. He has injury concerns that any team will give.